These sentences, which have been handed down to the 5 protesters from Just Stop Oil, they seem extreme. They seem to be sending out a message. Just Stop Oil is an environmental activist group founded by Roger Hallam, who also co-founded the Extinction Rebellion organisation and Insulate Britain, and the group advocates for the cessation of new oil and gas projects in the UK, using direct action protests to draw attention to climate changes, including gluing themselves to the road and defacing paintings and jumping on what is it, snooker tables and so on during matches. Sentences which were handed down yesterday included a 5-year sentence to Roger Hallam himself, who has therefore received the longest prison sentence ever for non-violent protest under new legislation which came in under Suella Braverman, for organising the M25 protests in 2022. Actually, that's not Suella Braverman, that's Priti Patel. And the protests involved 45 activists climbing gantries on the M25 motorway, causing significant disruption and disturbance. 4 other activists were sentenced to 4 years each for conspiring to cause a public nuisance. Those are Daniel Shaw from Northampton, Lucia Whitaker de Abro from Derby, Louise Lancaster from Cambridge, and Cressida Gethin from Hereford. All of this in Southwark Crown Court in London. And there has been huge criticism by environmental campaigners for that these sentences are disproportionate. 11 people during the trial attempted to persuade the jury to acquit the convicted Just Stop Oil activists, holding up placards. And the details of these individuals were not disclosed, but the interference of the jury protest was condemned. I think they were arrested and then released. And the protests, the M25 protests, coordinated by Hallam, disrupted the motorway for over 120 hours, affecting more than 700,000 vehicles, causing economic damage, making it difficult for people to get to schools, to get to hospitals, and so on. This was not just inconvenience, this was dangerous inconvenience. And the activists were sentenced under the Public Order Act 2023, designed to impose stiffer penalties for disruptive protests. And the legislation supported by the present Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has faced criticism for being draconian and undermining the right to protest. Prominent figures like Dale Vince, the Ecotricity founder, Chris Packham, the broadcaster, have condemned the sentences, comparing the UK's approach to oppressive regimes like Russia. International bodies, including the United Nations, have labelled the laws and the sentences as troubling and potentially violating human rights. Hundreds of protesters gathered outside Southwark Crown Court to support the activists, demonstrating the significant public and activist support for Just Stop Oil. The individuals themselves, Louise Lancaster is a former teacher, mother of 3. Cressida Gethin is a young cellist and a Cambridge student involved in various direct actions, including scaling the gantries on the M25. The recent convictions will highlight the tension between government legislation aimed at curbing disruptive protests and the activists' efforts to draw attention to the climate crisis. There have been protests before, significant protests, which have resulted in prison sentences. One can think of the suffragettes. But this seems quite extreme, and the debate between maintaining public order and protecting the right to protest will, I think, be fired by the length of this sentence, by the and by the severity of this. I'd love to know what you think. I'd love to know what you think, and please leave details below. Your comments are always welcome.